welcome to the Huntington Way Show. This is an educational show designed to help parents navigate the educational maze. It is brought to you by KPPF Power Talk Radio, your news talk radio station serving Colorado Springs. You can tune in at 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM, or like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 AM on YouTube. I'm your host, Yvonne Strachan, author and founder of InspirationalHomeschooling.com, where we share inspiring stories, encouragement, and supportive resources to help you homeschool well. The flexibility that parents have in educating their children is magnified through homeschooling, and I am a great proponent for discovering children's interests and gifts and figuring out how we can inspire, encourage, and help them to discover those possibilities. What a blessing it is to help children to sharpen their skills and work toward their goals. Throughout our homeschool adventures, my children have been able to delve into interests beyond their imagination, like entrepreneurships, flying, AutoCAD, and internships. And Falcon AeroLab has been one of those keys to opening those doors to the world of possibilities. And these possibilities are things that we have never even imagined or dreamed about. So I am overjoyed to have Mark Hyatt here. He is the founder and CEO of um, Falcon AeroLab. So welcome to the show, Mark.
It's great to be here, Yvonne. Thank you so much for considering letting me be on your show.
Oh, absolutely. I am just overjoyed to have you here. So I'm going to tell the audience here a little bit about what you have done and how you have served the community, our country, and also our children. So I'm just going to read this because I just don't want to miss anything. The flexibility that parents have in educating their children is magnified through homeschooling. So I'm really glad to have Mark here because he really ministers to homeschooling now. But he has served as a fighter pilot in the squadron commander in the Air Force. He was advisor to Secretary of Defense and the past two White House administrations on school choice, safety, social climate, and culture issues. He also served as Vice Commandant at the United States Air Force Academy. He was the director of their Center for Character and Leadership Development, president of the largest charter school in Colorado, the Classical Academy, and executive director of the Charter School Institute in Denver. He's testified at the Colorado Legislature to keep partial funding to public schools for homeschool students. Mark's journey through the education industry, combined with his wife Debbie's experience advocating for youth, brought them to the realization that children thrive when educating is tailored to their needs and interests. Together, they founded Falcon AeroLab. What inspired you to create Falcon AeroLab?
Well, Yvonne, I retired from the Air Force at age 50, and I retired from being the role of a school superintendent at age 60. So I didn't need money anymore, so I thought I'd just do nothing for a while, and I got bored after about 6 months. And I even looked in the Bible for the chapter on retirement, and I couldn't find it. So I had a little conversation with the good Lord, and He said, "You're supposed to serve young people for the rest of your life till I take you away." And I
Oh,
said, "Yes, sir."
wow. I love that. That is so sweet. Oh, wow. What is Falcon AeroLab's mission?
Well, Colorado, and I know there'll be some listeners that are beyond Colorado, but in Colorado, aerospace is the is the high, aerospace industry has the highest employment per capita of all the states, but we import most of our labor from California, New York, India, and
Mm.
I have nothing against those kids, but why not prepare Colorado kids for these amazing and very lucrative jobs in Colorado?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's great. While raising and educating our children, it doesn't take long to see how unique each one's abilities and interests are. This leads us homeschool parents to explore areas outside our own comfort zones. I know I certainly have been outside of my comfort zone and trying to minister to where my children need to be going. Us as homeschool parents, we often research and explore options as we see our children's interests and abilities grow. And often we don't realize what opportunities and options are out there. So I appreciate that Falcon AeroLab actually values the uniqueness of each child and strives to unravel each child's individual talents and interests and skills. And so, how does Falcon AeroLab work to achieve this objective?
Falcon AeroLab's goal is to help each child achieve their dreams. In other words, you could say help their dreams take flight.
Yes.
Very aviation oriented, but we're way beyond aviation. There's a huge industry, aerospace, with companies like Lockheed and Boeing and Polaris Alpha and United Airlines, and there's just so many here in Colorado. But we're now moving beyond Colorado. But the the most unique thing that I've noticed as an older person, and I'm 70 now, is that um, your generation of parents want whatever you want. And you're way more discerning than my generation was. I mean, to be quite honest, we sent our kids wherever we were told, and we did whatever we were told back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. But your generation wants exactly what's best for your children, and I'm really, really happy about that.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely my heart is, how can I help my children? And I think so many homeschool families out there feel the same way. And I look at, my kids are in your program, and I look at the team of instructors, and I'm just absolutely amazed at their hearts and how they minister to the kids. My son is in the AutoCAD, and the instructor there, Matthew Derby,
Hmm.
he is so vested in these kids. And so my son, he saved up for a 3D printer, and it's not working well. And he's like, "Oh, just bring it in. I'll take care of it." And I'm like, "Wow, who does that?" And we've had experiences with one of your other instructors as well. Um, and he was fixing Amber's drone after it was broke. And this was like a couple years after she was in that class. So I'm just so impressed at how vested they are in the kids and how um, they use their experience to help the kids. And so that brings me to this question, how does Falcon AeroLab work to um, just work with those? What types of instructors and staff do you have, and can you expand on the experience and expertise that our children get to tap into during their participation in those classes?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have a network of incredible people. I like to describe myself as the B student that works really hard, and but I keep track of all these A plus students. For instance, this week we brought in uh, a gentleman who was a peer of mine who flew SR-71s, and he spoke to two classes, and I was told he was the best speaker that we've ever brought in. And he is a docent at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum out by Dulles Airport. And but he had the best stories about flying the fastest airplane that was so far ahead of its time in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Um, and next week we're bringing in Caroline Jensen, who is a 98 graduate from the Air Force Academy, and amazing pilot. She was did top of her class in pilot training, and she became a fighter pilot. And she was so good, then she became a Thunderbird pilot, which is the Blue Angels equivalent. The Air Force, they're the best pilots. She's coming out for a
Wow.
week to inspire our kids. And then on
Wow.
this Friday, I'm flying General Kevin Chilton out to Grand Junction. We have a campus there. He's got 4 shuttle missions. He's a 4-star general and was the commander of Space Command. I had the privilege of being his instructor in pilot training, and he's going to go out and speak to our kids. So what I'm doing is leveraging these amazing Air Force Academy graduates that are in our community, and then getting them out. I think that we as older people have a moral obligation to pass the baton in this relay race called life to the next generation, and that's part of my job.
No, I love that because it's just so inspiring to the kids. Um, Boy, I just am so thankful to have all of these options available to the kids. It inspires them and encourages them, and just makes some of these um, ideas that they have or goals that they have more attainable. And I just love that about that. So thank you so much for sharing this valuable information and about those innovative opportunities in STEM and aerospace education. When we come back, Mark and I will delve deeper into specific details about Falcon AeroLab and the program's future goals. So stay tuned. This is the Huntington Way Show. You can join us at KPPF Radio at 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Huntington Way Show. I am here with Mark Hyatt, and we are talking about inspiring kids through STEM and aerospace education. So, Mark, please share with our audience what opportunities our youth have to explore through Falcon AeroLab and what courses AeroLab offers.
Goodness, what a privilege to have founded and run Falcon AeroLab. We started 6 years ago, well, the summer of 17 with 14 students, and now we have over 803 states, and we're probably going to add Arizona next year. I've been down there last week going back. So there's so much demand for opportunities and diverse opportunities in education. And I feel that that's what we should do is to help young people find their passion, try lots of new things. And in our case, um, we think that they have to be something different. They have to see something different. So we want to make sure that they see lots of different parts of STEM and aerospace.
I love that. And I just think about even my daughter, she went in to your program thinking, oh, this is great, I'm going to fly. And then sometimes they, you know, experience some
Hmm.
different things and then they change. And that's fine because, God uses it all.
Oh,
And I've seen that in my life, and I'm sure you have in yours as well. So, I know you're just here to support the kids, and I just love that heart in you and in the whole program and the teachers, like I said earlier. But I also know that, as they're working toward certain things, uh, they can also get licenses and
yeah.
certifications, and I know that you can do that through your program as well. So, can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a Young Falcons program for 9, 10, 11-year-olds, and that's kind of STEM light. But they do robotics and Legos, and they go to the zoo, and what we analyze how the birds fly and why she curls her wings as she's coming into land. Well, she's increasing the camber of her wings and creating more lift and drag and all that. So we start teaching them by what's going on in the universe and in the world. But as they get into what I call our sampler platter program, which is for the 11 to 16-year-olds, they get to fly in airplanes, fly in gliders, helicopters, the vertical wind tunnel with STEM lessons. They get to hear from astronauts and engineers and even our local weather personality from TV. Both of them have come in and taught. And for our Northern Colorado students, we get the Denver stations to come in. So we have experts in lots of fields and then incredible field trips to Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum up at Lowry in Denver, and Exploration of Flight Museum up at Centennial Airport in Lone Tree, and then the Air Force Academy, and then the Space Foundation in Colorado Springs and Discovery Center. So we try to make sure they touch it, taste it, feel it.
Oh, yeah. I love that they get to do that. And there's so many different variety of
Yeah.
what they get to, experience through even the beginner classes. So,
Can I add a couple more things?
yeah, you
Okay.
can.
Our advanced classes, so the 1A, the sampler platter course, they get interested. And then we have for the advanced students, we have an introduction to aviation mechanics where they start turning wrenches. Then the advanced students can build airplanes and work on their airframe and power plant certification with the Federal Aviation Agency. We also have a introduction to flight training glider program for the 13-year-olds where they can solo at 14, and we have a 90% solo rate. And I know that Amber soloed, and I
Yes.
remember the day. And no, and it's such a huge confidence builder for a 14-year-old to pilot an airplane by herself
Yeah.
and land it by herself.
Who
Got to be
gets to
tough.
do
It's got to
that,
be
right?
tough on mom, but
Yeah.
and then we have an IFT powered program where the young people get to take flight lessons in an actual airplane, and then they can solo at 16. And then some of them have gotten their private pilot's license at 17. And we have a couple that have gone on and gotten their commercial license and their instructor license, and we're grooming them for their airline jobs. And
Yeah.
so we also have our CAD, computer aided design program, where they get their SolidWorks certifications. We have a drone introduction, uh, IFT, introductory flight training drones, where they get their FAA Part 107 drone license. So our whole program is set up to get them experience and then an internship and then a job.
Yeah. And I think that I've talked to a lot of moms. I talked to a lot of homeschooling families, and I always love recommending your program because there's just so many opportunities for these kids to grow. And, um, you know, these kids are just inspired to do different things that they never thought they could do. Some kids never think that they're going to be able to fly unless they enter the military, and there's lots of other ways to do things. So you're really opening up a whole world of possibilities to these children and to these families. And I love that you offer internships.
Hmm.
And so, can you tell me about some of the internships that children have enjoyed?
Yeah, I'll just use a student named Grant who got went through our cyber course, and you can get your CompTIA A plus, your Security plus, your Network plus, and end up in the cyber field. Well, he says, well, don't I need to go to college? And I said, well, maybe, but you don't have to go right away. I said, if you go out there, we'll get you an internship with one of these defense contractors that secures cyber systems at Schriever Air Force Base, NORAD, and Peterson. And your job is to go out and no hackers. Nobody can hack into their systems. You show up on time, treat everybody with respect and dignity, and they're going to pay for your college. Well, they started Grant at 62,000 a year as an 18-year-old, and we're
Wow.
working on his top secret clearance.
Hmm.
We're adding welding this coming next semester where they can get their welding certificate. We're just trying to make it so that these young people are prepared for the workforce. So that's really what we're all about, is getting them ready for these amazing jobs in our state.
Right. Now, internships will get you there, experience gets you there, and um, maybe, your attitude is
Hmm.
a big part of it. But also, there's going to be college courses in
Hmm.
some of these programs too, and it's great that if they can find an internship and somebody pays for college,
Hmm.
wow, that's a amazing opportunity. Now, do you offer college courses through Falcon AeroLab as well?
Yes, we've just started that, and we now have an agreement with Pikes Peak State College where we can pay for some college courses while they're doing AeroLab. And so we're just starting that in the fall semester of 23. But we have so many opportunities. And you mentioned before that if a young person wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, West Point, Annapolis, Merchant Marine, I happen to sit on Congressman Lamborn's selection committee, and I love coaching these young people if they want to apply to that. And that's what I do. I mean, I used to sit on the selection committees when I was a colonel at the Air Force Academy on the other end, and now I'm on the congressman's end. So I'm happy to help these young people succeed, whether they want to be civilian aerospace people or military. And there's just lots of paths to a great career.
Yes, there certainly is. What role do you take in helping students maybe obtaining scholarships? Because that's another aspect
Uh,
of, getting out
I'm
into the
so glad
workforce
you
and
asked that because we just 2 months ago we formed the SOAR Foundation, which is a tandem organization with Falcon AeroLab. So, because I have so many people wanting to donate money to help your children and everyone's else children that have financial need to have scholarships. So, the SOAR Foundation exists to support Falcon AeroLab, and we're going to give scholarships, flight scholarships, uh, mechanic scholarships, drone scholarships, cyber scholarships. In other words, I want to remove impediments to a young person achieving their goals. And if money is an impediment, let's get money for them. If transportation is an impediment, let's figure that out. If language is an impediment, we'll learn Spanish or whatever we have to do. I'm just into impediment removal so that young people can succeed.
I love that about you, and I love that you just have such a heart for kids. I mean, it's like where do you stop, you know?
Well, I've told Amber and I tell all these young people, when you're an old lady and you're an old man like I am, you're going to be helping young people because that's what we're supposed to do.
That's that's great. Many homeschool families, they have only one source of income, and you talked about removing those impediments. How affordable is the Falcon AeroLab program for homeschooling families?
Well, you mentioned earlier that that I did testify before the Senate and the House, and I'm in touch with our governor here in Colorado because we want to make sure that the public funds can be used for all Colorado children. And of course, we're starting to work with Utah and Oregon and hopefully Arizona soon to use some of those funds to help them succeed. And the bottom line is, it's your money. And I think that all the children have to be um, funded. So that's we've done is we figured out a way to get partial funding. It's almost like a voucher program in a way
Uh-huh.
for homeschool children and for private school children, Christian schools, Catholic schools, all the. So we have students from private schools up and down the Front Range and homeschool. If you're in a publicly funded school, then we have about 5% of our students are tuition students, and they will pay tuition to come in our program and will help with payment plans or scholarships. In other words, we're trying to remove the impediments.
Oh, yes, I love that. And, speaking of all of this, how can homeschool families get involved or register for the Falcon AeroLab program?
Well, number one, we're on Facebook. We have a website, Falcon AeroLab,
Mhm.
and it's falconaerolab.org. Real simple. And if you inquire about that, I still am receiving all the inquiries, and then I farm them out to our managers. As we get bigger and bigger, I may not be able to do it all myself, but I love the personal touch and be able to engage with every mom and dad that wants advice on how to help their children succeed.
That's wonderful, Mark. This has been an incredibly valuable, innovative, and inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for the privilege.
Well, absolutely.
Proud to serve.
Yes. This is Yvonne Strachan, today's host on the Huntington Way Show, where we support you in educating your kids. Thank you so much for joining us today.